Travelling overseas carries risks, especially in places like the Middle East, but jail was the last thing on these Australians' itineraries.
Okay, here we go.
They're young, they're innocent, and they embody Australia's adventurous spirit.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful setting.
B-E-A, beautiful.
But now they're locked up in a Middle Eastern prison.
This is a horror story.
There should be no justification or validity placed into these arrests.
Hi guys, I'm Jolie.
Perth couple Jolie King and Mark Firkin see the world and then share their adventures with the world, posting beautiful video blogs like these online.
I'm a sweaty mess, it's so hot.
From Kakadu to the treacherous Karakoram highway in Pakistan.
Why, hello there.
The couple left Australia for their trip in 2017. But 3 months ago, the same drone that captured such stunning vision for their travel diaries landed them in serious trouble with Iranian authorities. It's believed they'd unknowingly flown the device in a military area near the capital, Tehran.
Any kind of drone activity inside Iran will be seen as a massive security risk, and these young Australians simply had no idea.
War correspondent turned documentary filmmaker Michael Ware knows the region intimately.
I fear that they have a long and extremely difficult time ahead of them. They may meet their lawyer at the trial. They may then be convicted and sentenced to a decade in prison for espionage, all in the space of about 15 minutes.
Then once you're down here, you can sort of just...
Jolie and Michael aren't the only Australians detained in Tehran's notorious Evin prison.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for having me. So
Dr. Kylie Moore-Gilbert has reportedly been held in solitary confinement for a year, accused by Iran of spying, despite the fact she'd simply been studying a religious course at an Iranian university prior to her arrest in August last year.
And it was only when she went to the airport to leave that she was detained.
Following high school, I spent a period of a few years backpacking around the world, so I travelled to a lot of Middle Eastern countries, and this was...
It's been reported Dr. Moore-Gilbert has been sentenced to 10 years jail.
Solitary confinement, my wife calls it a living grave. You're as close to death as possible without suffering from any specific physical ailment.
Jason Razayan is a Washington Post reporter and author of Prisoner, My 544 Days in an Iranian Prison. He was working in Iran when he was arrested in 2014, and the next year he was convicted of espionage in a closed-door trial.
As time went on, I started to realize that, well, actually, no, I'm one more in the Islamic Republic's long line of foreign national hostages. And I think that's exactly what's going on with your fellow Australians right now.
Public outcry in the US led to his release in 2016.
It was more about raising awareness so that the US government would get more involved and care for me as one of its citizens. And it worked.
Before Dr. Moore-Gilbert's identity was leaked on social media earlier this month,
We will continue to pursue these matters in the interests of
the Australian government had been hoping to keep it a secret.
Ultimately, you still have Australian citizens who've been traveling to Iran not knowing that they might be under potential threat of being picked up by that regime, which is exactly what happened with Jolie and Mark.
They're hoping to use these Australian prisoners as bargaining chips. Australia has absolutely no influence over Iran, so they're looking, I would suspect, to put pressure on the Western alliance.
The families of those Australian prisoners have asked for privacy as the government works to free them.